So the title of my message is Faith, Just Do It. And then there's a subheading that says, it's not about what you want to do, it's about what you have to do. It is a quote. It's not about what you want to do, it's about what you have to do. And since our pastor has brought it up, that is his quote because he says it in our house all the time. And it is the unofficial motto. It'd be funny to you if you saw the Crudes too. Unofficial motto in our house is, it's not about what you want to do, it's about what you have to do. So here are the scriptures, but we are going to talk about faith. And somehow, trusting and believing and having assurance in God has become optional in his house and in his children and in his people. The faith level in God. So we were on, with UHAI, we were on a call, and they were talking about whether God still performs miracles. And the thought that came to my head is, oh, God absolutely still performs miracles. We just don't believe like the old church did. We don't believe like the latter church did. They got the big miracles because they had the big faith. And the ones that didn't have faith, the centurion, he said, I believe, Lord, help thou my unbelief. He was like, I know you can do it. I got a little bit of doubt, and that comes in the way of miracles. So please help me get rid of that little bit of doubt because I need you to do something for me, and I got to have unwavering faith because the thing that I need done seems big. My daughter is sick. And a lot of times back then, it wasn't just like she got a cold. The doctor was like, look, y'all need to get together because this child's not going to make it. And as a matter of fact, while he was talking, they came and said, don't bother him anymore. She's gone. One of the fathers in the Bible. And so we cannot treat faith as an option. Not just because the needs that we have in our life are too great, but because you can't be saved without faith. You can't please God without faith. You can't expect anything from him without faith. We have heard time and time and time again, your tears do not move God. And every time something happens, we want to cry. And God is like, that's awesome, but where's your faith at, darling? I totally get that your heart's broken. Totally get that you're worried. Totally get that you're scared. Totally get this is uncomfortable. I get that. I see you crying. I see your tears. It's not that they don't mean nothing to me, but faith moves me. Your tears don't move me. Your heart is desperately wicked. Only I know it. I'm not concerned about what's going on in your heart. Where's your faith? So, the title is Faith, Just Do It. Just do what? Just have faith? Just believe. Just obey. Do you know what? My mom's in the room and she can tell you. When I was a kid, if she told me to do something, 9 times out of 10, I did it. Most of the spankings, I told you guys, most of the spankings I got was because of what I said, because, the mouth. But if she told me to do something, I usually did it. Why? Because I had faith that if I didn't, she was going to whoop me. I believed her when she said, if I get home and this room is not clean, you're getting 20 licks. I believed her. And so as the time, I may have been playing and playing with my brother. I don't know if my brother had faith or not because he would be playing up until the moment. But I was like, look, I can't play with you no more. Mom's going to be home and I got to make this room look clean because I don't want 20 licks. But I believed her when she said, I'm going to whip you. Why? Because the week before, she whooped me. She proved that I could trust what she said to me. If you don't do this, I will do this. She proved that. And so she had a rapport with me. Now, God has set up a rapport with us, but we don't trust him like we do people. God says, if you seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things will be added. And we're like, I don't know about that. He said, trust in the Lord with all thy heart I'll give you the desires of your heart. I don't know about that. I'll keep you in perfect peace if you keep your mind stayed on me. I don't know about that. I don't have any peace, and I don't know why. If you got a question, the answer's in the Bible. If you don't have no peace, it's because of what you're thinking and what you're letting going on with your mind. Because your body doesn't have turmoil. Peace comes in and out of the mind. Because if you can have peace in your mind, the rest of your body will be settled. But God said, hey, I'll do this if you do this. And we're like, no, we'll see. I want this, but I don't want to do this. I just want you to give it to me. And he has said over and over again, I'm an if you, then I kind of person. And we just keep acting like, if I cry hard enough, and if I keep praying the same prayer over and over and over and over again, eventually I'm going to be like Steve Urkel and Laura and wear him down, and he's just going to give me what I want. But I'm not going to have to do what he wants. That's not how that works. See, faith is bigger than just I believe what God can do. It also is I believe that God is a chastiser, that he loves me enough to correct me, that he loves me enough to say no. See, I had faith that my mom would get me to school on time, but I also had faith that if I didn't clean my room, she'd spank me. And so we always want to have, God, I believe you for lottery type money, and God, I believe you for this, and God, I believe you for that. But God, I don't believe that if I don't listen to you and do what you tell me to do, you're going to give me consequences. And then when I get the consequence, I'm offended. He kind of told you from Genesis to Revelations that if you don't do what I tell you to do, if you're not obedient, consequences come. But yet we still be shocked. That's like me knowing that my mom said she whipped me last week for not cleaning my room. She coming home today, and when she come home and say, put your hands on the couch, I'm like, why? Mom, don't you love me? She's like, yes, I love you, but I told you that if your room wasn't clean, you're going to put your hands on your couch. Room not clean, hands on the couch. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own understanding. Let me guide your footsteps. But we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We don't want to meditate on these things, whatsoever things are lovely and good and of a good report. Nope. We want to watch all depravity on the internet, all the cursing and twerking and fighting and killing and all the bad news and all that stuff. And then we want to talk about, God, I'm just so down. And he's like, what are you eating? What are you eating? That's like eating spoiled food and then being like, I'm complaining because I'm sick. What did you think was going to happen? You got to have the faith to believe that God is for real. You can't just put anything in and expect him then to gloss over it and fix it. Sometimes you got to live with your consequences. Did he not say, God is not mocked, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap? You want to sow seeds, but you don't want the harvest. You got to have faith that everything God wrote in the Bible, he absolutely meant that. So, raise your hand if you think faith is easy. Go ahead, 7. Raise your hand if you think faith is easy. It should be, but the undead flesh makes it hard. Paul said, I crucify my flesh daily. God had him write that. He had, he was like, God, I got this thorn in my side. And God was like, my grace is sufficient, which means get up and push on, buddy. But he said, I have this thing going on in my flesh, but I have a mission. So I got to crucify my flesh daily because my flesh has thoughts and my flesh has feelings and my flesh wants to do other things and my flesh wants to get tired. So it got to be dead. But if Paul had to crucify his flesh, why does mine get to live? If you don't understand that your flesh is alive, just see what you think. What do you be thinking about? When something happens, is your first inclination to pray or complain? That lets you know the level of life your flesh has. Are you easily angered? Are you easily agitated? Are you easily offended? Are you easily frustrated? That lets you know, because see, your spirit don't get all those things. Your flesh does. So if you easily angered and frustrated, your flesh is alive and kicking. If you thought it was dead, it's not. The problem with faith is that it calls for submission. In this day and age, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my daddy, but he is your daddy, though. The problem is we don't see him as that. We don't see him as a good father. He's just like this thing, this entity that's kind of way over there. And I got to figure things out. Submit? I mean, what is submission? We go all Shakespearean on it. What is a rose? What is submission? Like, does it have to be all of this stuff? Or can it be most of this stuff? Or some of this stuff? Do I have to do everything you tell me to do? What if I do most of it? What if I do some of it? Is that still obedience? That's kind of like I told almost all of the truth. If it's not the whole truth, it's a whole lie. Even if it's got a little truth in it, if you add the lie, it's all a lie. So if you are a little disobedient, you all the way disobedient. Faith says, I believe you enough that I don't want the consequence, and I believe you when you say you're going to give me a consequence. I believe you when you say that I'm going to have to feed on the words that I say. I believe you when you say my life is going to testify against me when I get to heaven. I believe you when you say that I'm going to reap whatever I sow. So I'm going to live my life accordingly. See, this isn't the faith message that you were really thinking, huh? Faith is a lot bigger than just, God, I believe you for money or health or all that kind of stuff. Faith is also, God, I believe you enough. I reverence and fear you. I respect you enough to live my life like you are real. I'm not sure how many people who claim to be Christians actually believe that God is real and not just a character in the Bible. The Bible has become a storybook. They got the adventure Bible, the story Bible. I went to buy a Bible for a little kid, and I was like, wow. Then I had to sit there and actually open them up and read them because now they done made it like, I'm like, wow, whose Bible is this? But that's how we want God to be. Cater it to me. Make pretty pictures. Make it all nice. Take out the stories that I don't like. Take out what happened to Israel when they didn't obey you. Take out the captivity. Take out the death. Take out the fact that all of a whole generation had to die in the wilderness because they wouldn't stop complaining. Take that out and just put the nice, sweet stuff in there. The God of love. The God of more than enough. He is the God of more than enough for those who are obedient, for those who have faith. But we want stuff that we're not entitled to. You want the stuff that people who have big faith have, and you have zero faith. But you still want at the same level because, I see Evangelist Raynon got a new house, and her hair's always done. But why can't I have that? Well, you can't just look at what she got. You kind of have to look at what it costs. Submission. Maybe she submits more than I do. Maybe she's obedient more than I am. Because it's not just about what it costs as far as like what you got to go through, but it's also what you got to give up. I got to give up my will. If I want big things from God, I got to get it his way because he knows how I'll get to keep it. How many times have we gone out and gotten things that wasn't in God's will and then we struggled to keep it and we lost it anyway? But if I had faith, I would say, okay, God, your time, your will, when you want me to have it, I'm ready to have it. But we got in a lot of messes because we didn't trust God. God, I know that you have a plan. I know that you can work this out. No, God, I got this. Actually, if I do this and do that, and if I just do this, and if I flip this, and if I make this, and if I move this over here and move this, if I do this day, but then do this day, I could totally work it out. And then you got a huge mess. Then you want to come to God and be like, Lord, I don't understand why this has happened to me. If you really had faith, you would have never gotten in the mess in the first place because you'd have took your hands off it and realized that only God has the answer. We have this, and it's cultural. It's not like just people are just stubborn and hard-headed, but it's what's been fed to us. And we've eaten more of this self-empowerment than we have of God. And so when God gives us instructions, we don't have the faith to believe that he meant that thing. So when he said, don't watch that, don't eat that, don't say that, don't go there, don't have these thoughts, control your thoughts, control your feelings, kill your flesh, he meant that thing. He meant that. That wasn't a suggestion. But here's our problem, because I was really just like, God, I don't understand. Like, why isn't the church really getting it? Well, the problem is we don't have swift consequences all the time. We got grace and we got mercy. And we mistake grace and mercy for, I got away with it. No, you gonna pay for it. But because it's not immediate, when you took that thing, nobody cut your hand off right then and there, you thought you got away with it. And so you thought that God wasn't serious when he said, you're gonna reap what you sow. And then when it comes back, you shocked. Why? Why did someone break into my house? Oh, you forgot that you stole from your friend. She don't even know you stole it, but I saw you. And you thought you got away with it. I gave you time to repent and change, and you didn't. And now somebody broke in your house and took everything. You may have only taken a ring and a necklace, but somebody broke into your house and took everything. Because you have to understand, and this is the biggest thing about reaping and sowing that I don't think people understand. When you sow a seed, you don't get a seed back. So sometimes the consequence comes back bigger than what you did. I'm going to let that marinate for a second. Sometimes you really need to think about your actions because it may come back bigger than what you did. You may have said this and went off on somebody and went on, but somebody going to tear into you one day in a way that you like, good Lord, I think you just literally destroyed my soul with that. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. And faith says, God, I believe that you're in heaven, taking account of everything that I do and everything that I say and everything that I think, because you know the heart of man, of every intention I have, of every action I do. And because I believe, I have faith that you're up there keeping account, I'm going to keep account and pay attention to what I'm doing. And I'm going to be right. I'm going to do right. Not just because I love you, but because I believe that you are watching and you see everything I do. I may be in the car by myself. I may be at home by myself, but I am never alone, ever. When God says, be still and know that I am God, who is like, okay, yeah, God, sure, yep. Because usually when that happens, it's in turmoil. Like something has happened and we go to God and we're like, God, I need you to move now. This situation is urgent. And he's like, be still and know that I am God. And what do we say? Okay, cool. I got this. I see you're not going to do what I need you to do. You're not going to move in the situation like I need you to move. So you be God. I'm going to go over here and take care of the situation. Don't we seem like geniuses? We're so smart. But God said, be still. Don't put your hand in it. Don't do anything, but wait on me. I got this, but I also have timing. And I need this to be done in my timing. Now you're going to make a mess. I'm going to still do what I do, and I'm going to still do it in my timing, but you got a mess. So this is what God was talking to me about. Who thinks Hosea wanted to do the work of a prophet, be a single father, and then keep having to use the money that he made to go buy his wife back? Because nobody ever talks about the fact that Hosea was obviously a single father because him and his wife kept having babies and then she kept leaving because he had to go buy her back, which meant he was a single father in the Bible days. That was something you think maybe he wanted to do? Like, I'm a prophet, married to a prostitute, and I got to keep going buy her back. That would be embarrassing. How about Job losing everything, including his health, and God didn't say, oh, poor Job. He said, who do you think you are? Were you there when I created the world? When I created the Leviathan, you complaining to me? The dude lost everything but 3 servants and an ungrateful wife. I shouldn't say ungrateful. It wasn't that she was ungrateful. I thought about it differently. I think maybe she wanted him to just curse God and die because she was like, you suffering so much, put yourself out of your misery. An ununderstanding wife. 3 servants and an ununderstanding wife. He had 7 kids and all kind of riches and lost everything. And God wasn't like, oh, poor Job. Oh, my servant Job. He was like, dude, are you laying here complaining? He ain't got nowhere to stay. He got sores. The dogs are licking his sores because he don't even have money for salve or medicine. He can't get up and go in the woods and get him a salve. And he's going to God, and God is like, are you coming to me complaining? I'm God. This is nothing for me. What are you doing? How about Daniel? He was punished for praying after he was already in captivity. He was in captivity. It wasn't like he was praying in freedom and he had all kind of, he was in captivity. How about the 3 Hebrew boys thrown a pit so hot that the men who threw them in burned up? Why? Because they wouldn't bow and disavow their God. You think they were like, yes, throw me in there. Totally. Yes. Okay, great. Just because God asks you to do something doesn't mean it's always going to be great for you, to you. Your flesh is probably not going to like it. But he still requires you to believe that he is a disciplinarian. And when he tells you to do something, he requires us to obey. My favorite character in the Bible is now Paul. Paul was an affluent man. If you don't know about Paul, he came from a wealthy, educated background. And he walked away from it after an encounter with God to live a life of torment. He got beat, he got shipwrecked, he got bit. If it could happen to him, it happened to him. But you know what all of these examples in the Bible have in common? They thought it was worth it to be obedient. It's worth it to lose everything. Job had a moment where he was whining and complaining, and then God kind of snatched him up, and he was like, "Okay, all right, I'm good now. I got my head together." Hosea was like, "Oh, go get her again? Whoa, you want us to have another baby? Okay, great. Yep, I'm gonna do that." David was like, "Oh, you told us to go to this battle. I came back. All of my stuff was gone. My wives, my children, my stuff. My men want to kill me. Totally worth it, God. What do you want me to do next? Oh, go get my stuff. I'm going to be obedient." Joseph. All of the examples of the people who had faith in the Bible, they had one thing in common. They felt that obedience was the biggest, most important thing in their lives. They told Paul, "If you just leave and stop preaching, we'll leave you alone." He got up, cleaned himself off, and went back into the city and kept preaching because obedience to God was bigger than anything that anybody could do to him and bigger than anything that he would go through. Why? Because he had faith that if he didn't do what God told him to do, there would be a consequence. And how hubris of someone to think that whatever God is going to dish out as my punishment, I can take it. I'm not going to do this. See, we don't say it with our mouth, but when we're disobedient, that's like me saying, "You know what, Mom? I don't know what you're going to whip me with," because back in the day, let's be honest, it could have been a belt, it could have been a switch, it could have been an extension cord, could have been a slipper, could have been her hand. You don't know. But it would be obviously interesting for me to say, "I'm not going to clean my room and I want to take my chances," because when you are disobedient, what you're saying to God is, whatever my consequence is, I could take it. Because that's what you choose. You choose consequence when you're disobedient. So Hebrews 11:6. Hebrews 11:6 says, "But without faith it is impossible to please God. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him." But if he's a rewarder of him that diligently seeks him, he is also a rewarder of him who is disobedient. So maybe faith is important. Maybe it's important to believe in God, to diligently. See, it doesn't say he's a rewarder of them that seek him. Diligently, earnestly, fervently, aggressively. I pay attention. I'm seeking you with all of my heart and all of my mind and all of my soul. I'm not seeking comfort. I'm not seeking ease. I'm not seeking money and things. I'm seeking you, God. Because the other faith that I have is, if I do what you tell me to do, you let me eat on the fat of the land. But we want the fat of the land being disobedient. And want to act like we don't understand why a lot of our answers is no. You understand, you just don't want to accept it. The enemy is trying to chip away at faith in the people of God, using life issues as if issues of life are bigger than God. How about Abel? Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Rahab. Non-perfect people who had a choice in the face of some hard circumstances to obey God in the issues of life. They told Rahab, we're going to come and destroy this city. Rahab was like, what can I do? Yep, do that? Okay, I'm going to do that. Now, most people don't know that if it had been found out that Rahab was helping the spies, they would have killed her and her whole family. But she trusted in God enough. She had more faith in God and less faith in man that could destroy the body. Obedience was more important. The situation wasn't perfect. The people weren't perfect. Rahab was a harlot. If you don't know what a harlot is, she was a prostitute. She wasn't what we would consider the perfect example, but she made the perfect choice. I'm going to obey God. I'm going to have faith in him. I'm going to trust in him. I'm going to do this. Now, here's the crazy thing. God, the God of Israel, wasn't even her God. She had more faith in the true and living God than she did in her idol gods. I was trying to use a bigger word, but it escaped me. She had more faith in the God of Israel than she did in her idol gods. Here's why God brought this up to me. A lot of us have more faith in the job and the money and the people than we do in the God who put those in our lives. My husband, when they called him and told him, it was crazy because they did like a mass meeting. It was literally 400 people were on a video conference call. And they were like, so just to let all of you know, we no longer need your service. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the company. And goodbye. Now, what I found interesting was the immediate response. Oh my God, I feel sick. That shows that those people had confidence in Comcast. Those people had confidence in that paycheck. My husband took a minute. And when I came in, he had just like a blank look on his face. And I said, hey, what's up? I had been at the gym. He said, I got laid off today. I was like, oh, okay. I said, you good? He said, I'm good. I was like, cool. He's like, you good? I was like, I'm good. I'm going to take a shower. Our confidence isn't in his job. Great. 90% of our income came from that job. But 100% of our resources come from God. So if he took that job, I'm doing my part. I'm being obedient. I am living for him. I am trusting him. I am praising him. I believe in him. So if he took that job, I'm not about to sit here and stress and worry. I have faith that if I do my part, he'll do everything that he promised me in his word. So I don't need to stress if he takes something or if I lose something or if something goes away because he's still there. It's not like when he lost the job, he lost God too. He's still there. So I have to have faith that, okay, God, if this was your decision, I'm okay with it because I trust you. Hebrews 11 and 32. So all of Hebrews is just really, Hebrews 11 is just talking about the faith of all of the people in the Bible. And so Hebrews 11, chapter 32 through 40 says, and what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak and Samson and Jephthah and David also and Samuel and of the prophets who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouth of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the enemies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others had trial of cruelty, mocking, and scourging, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sown asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered in sheepskin and goatskin, being destitute, afflicted, and tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. Now, we're going to stop there for a second. This is talking about all the people who had faith and what it cost them, what they went through, and they had faith in the face of these things happening to them. And it talks about all the victories that they had because of their faith. Quenching fire? Turning enemies away? Getting victory, and then they chose to be weak so that God could be strong in them. They chose to surrender and to submit and say, God, I'm a frail, fallowed flesh. I'm going to let you do this. I'm going to let you have your way. I'm going to give up and let you be God. Verse 39, and these, all having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. So they did all of this, and a lot of them, the promise that was made to them, they did it for a promise that they never got to see. Verse 40 says, God, having provided some better things for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. Basically, what that last verse is saying is that the promise wasn't even going to be fulfilled until a later time, but they still had faith. Abraham never saw that he was the father of many nations because he's still being the father of many nations now. How many prophets in the Bible prophesied something that they never saw? Moses didn't get to go into the promised land, but it didn't stop him from believing that there was a promised land and that his God was going to take his people into it, even if he wasn't one of those people. It wasn't that these people had faith because the situation was perfect. It wasn't that these people had faith because it was easy. Because imagine you go through all these things. Let's go back to when it was talking about they were stoned, sewn asunder. Sewn asunder was when it was tortured. We'll just say tortured. Slain by the sword, wandered in sheepskin and goatskin because they didn't have clothes. Destitute, afflicted, tormented, and a lot of times for something they would never get to see the end result of. But they said, it's worth it. It's worth it. They believed. Now, here's what God hit me with. This is why I left from up here. He said, even the demons have faith in me. Even the demons believe me. In Matthew 8:29 through 31, he said, and behold, they cried out saying, what have we to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God? Art thou come hither to torment us before the time? And there was a good way off from them a herd of many swine. So the devils besought him, saying, if thou cast us out, suffer us to go away into the herd of swine. They believed in what God could do. They believed that he could cast them out, and they had to come out. They believed in his power. They believed in his authority. They believed that Jesus was God and that he had all power and all authority that he had. And they had respect of it. Did they like him? No, they didn't like him. But they respected him. Why? Because he commanded that authority. And when they said, why bother us before the time? They were like, you haven't been crucified yet. Wait a minute. I thought we had a little more time. And they respected the fact that they had to ask permission. We can't just say we're going to stay here because if you tell us to leave, we got to go. And so we're going to ask you, please, if you make us leave, because we don't know, it's ahead of the time. So maybe you just, but if you make us leave, can we please go over here? Because we understand that if you cast us out, we can't just go where we want to go because you have that authority. Even the demons were like, I respect you. I respect your authority, and I'm going to behave accordingly. But the children, the heirs and joint heirs, are like, I'm not so sure he could do it. I don't know. I mean, maybe. Because that one time, he kind of just let me fall through the cracks. Or maybe that one time you got the punishment that was coming to you, and he didn't deliver you from your punishment. Because when he says, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, plans of good and not to harm you, he was talking to the children of Israel, and he was telling them, listen, you're going to go through this. You're going to stay here the whole time that I've allotted for you to stay here. But I love you. I'm going to bring you out of this. I have good thoughts towards you. You're going to suffer and you're going to get punished. But I'm going to bring you out of it. Just keep a good thought. Isn't that what they say? Keep a good thought. This is not going to be nice for like 70 years, but then after that, I'm going to bring you out. But you're going to go through this. You're going to suffer this. Oh, y'all are going into exile for 400 years. That's definitely going to happen. You're going to be slaves. They're going to take everything. Oh, you know what? You're going to go hide in the mountains, and they're going to come down like locusts and destroy your camp and take everything and destroy everything. Every time you try and do something, I'm going to let them come down and destroy it. That's going to happen, but it's not going to last forever. Because this is the consequence you chose when you chose disobedience. But just because I have to spank you doesn't mean I don't love you. I spank you because I love you. And I want you to make it into heaven. And I understand that if I don't chastise you, you won't get right. Because our flesh and our human nature is to do the wrong thing. It's sinful. And so I have to have faith to believe, God, you love me enough to let this consequence come. Thank you, God. Oh, this is happening. God, I thank you. God, I thank you. This is happening to my health. I did drugs for years and then I got saved. Thought it was all good. God, I thank you. I understand my consequence. You don't never want me to ever go back there again. God, I thank you. I made poor financial decisions. And so now I got to live in lack for a while. God, I thank you. I thank you that you want me to learn the lesson so that even though when you give me the ability to get wealth, I can keep it and do what you want me to do with it. God, I thank you. God, I have faith to believe that nothing happens without your permission. So thank you for what you're letting happen to me because I know it's for my good. I don't understand it, but I know you. I trust you. I have faith in you. So God, I thank you. I got to ride the bus because my car don't work anymore. God, I thank you. I mean, I didn't do the maintenance on it and didn't do the things I needed to do. And so, I drove it with no oil in it and my engine blew up. And while I know you can bless me with another car, I thank you for providing the bus so I don't have to walk. God, I thank you. I thank you that you even had mercy when I didn't do what I had to do and what I needed to do. God, I thank you that I'm still here. Faith says that I understand that in my good days, my bad days, my uplifting, my consequences, it's all God and it's all in his control. And so I'm going to stop murmuring and I'm going to stop complaining and I'm going to stop worrying and I'm going to trust that God is in control. In the Bible, people believed with no evidence. So when I say no evidence, they weren't going to get to see the promise that was made to them, but they still believed. So why can't we believe with so much personal evidence? God has moved in our lives so many times, and yet as soon as something happens, we ready to cry and we worried. And God is like, but last week you forgot? Okay. See, this is why you're going through this, because you keep forgetting that I'm God and I can do this. Oh, yeah, remember last month you didn't have all the money you needed and I came through? And this month you stressing and worrying and trying to figure it out. You forget that last month I worked it out, right? And that's why you're going through it this month, because you keep forgetting that I'm God. Why do we fret every time as though we don't know at least what God has done for us before? He did it for us. He did it in my life. It wasn't like some Bible story. It wasn't like a story that my mom told me. God came through for me. I have personal evidence. Guess what? It is not a foregone conclusion that when you go to the hospital and have a baby, you're going to live. But the fact that you and your baby are here today is a miracle of God. He allowed it. He came through. But yet, we act like we don't know what God can do. Because of our feelings, we get all in situations and circumstances that God never called us to. So here's what he was talking to me about, because I had a situation in my personal life. And he was like, you're trying to get in this situation. The best way to be in the will of God is sometimes to get out of the way of God. I'm doing something. I'm wreaking consequences, and you trying to lay on top of them and get the spanking. That ain't how it works. I'm not going to spank you for what they did, but you can get a spanking with them if you choose to keep getting in my way. You can get a consequence too, or you can move out of the way and let me do what I do. Because you can't save. See, and as parents, we keep trying to save our kids from what has to happen. And God is like, oh, hold up. Somehow you think that's your child. And that you can stop me from doing what I want to do with my child. That would be like me telling Zariah, you can't whip 7. You cannot do it. And then I pick 7 up and try and walk off with it. Zariah would be like, who do you think you are? She about to get this whooping. And if you don't put it down, you might get it too. Because we want to tell God how to do it. God, save my child. God, do this. God, do that. But not like that. God, not like that. No, God, not like that. No, when I said that, what I meant was just like send an angel to talk to them while they're sleeping at night. I didn't mean let them go through some things and tear them down. That's not what I meant, God. When I asked you to save them and I asked you to deliver them and I asked you to turn them around, I really just meant for you to just kind of talk to them. I really didn't mean for you to let them go through all of this. And then we try and step in, draining our emotions, our sleep, our money, our resources, trying to save them from a consequence that's going to happen regardless of what we do. But if I had faith, I would understand I can't stop God, so I best just get out the way because I believe in his authority and his power and who he is. We gotta know God. We gotta understand he's a God of love. And he's a God of peace, and he's a God of chastisement, and he's a God of destruction. He's a God of it all. And he's not going to do it the way you want it done. He's going to do it the way he wants to do it because he's sovereign and he don't need your permission. The last thing I'm going to say is this. If you trust God, if you have faith in God, prove it. Prove it. Every day, every minute, prove it. Prove it by how you think. Prove it by what you say. Prove it by how you respond. Prove it by how you react. Prove it. Prove it. If you believe that God is God and he can do everything, prove it. If you believe that he sits high but he looks low, prove it. When your money is low, because you remember when they were like, okay, people aren't getting their SNAP benefits and everybody's like, well, I'm going to go in the store and steal it. Well, you could be worried about what Walmart was going to do to you, but you really needed to be worried about what God was going to do to you because he literally said, thou shalt not steal. So if you break a commandment, you can expect a consequence. And so if I believe that God is sitting up and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, but he's also a chastiser, I live my life accordingly because even when nobody's around, I have integrity. Why? Because God sees me. I ain't cursing nobody out in my mind because he knows my thoughts. I don't have ill will towards anybody in my heart because he knows my heart. There's nothing I can hide from him. But if I believe that, prove it. Live it out. If you have faith in God, prove it.